Holidays, always on your mind. What's the first thing you think of when you're thinking of going on holiday? Well, I think before Brexit, it was probably I'll start that again. What's the first thing you think of when you're going to go on holiday? Well, usually it's the weather. Is the weather going to be great? Secondly, what's the rate of exchange? Now, apparently, there are much more serious things to consider because a recent survey says the world travel market says that more than a quarter of the UK holidaymakers are less likely to go to the US because Donald Trump is in the White House. Other things like terrorism, etc., have affected where we decide to go on holiday. And to talk to me about where we should go or what things we should consider, do you know what? I've lost your name. Where is it?
Paul Nelson.
Paul Nelson. Sorry about that, Paul. It's not on my queue here. Well, to find out what we should be considering about where we're going to go, it's Paul Nelson. Hiya, Paul.
Hiya, how are you?
Give us your official term, Paul.
Official, so from World Travel Market?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Paul Nelson from Press and PR Manager for World Travel Market.
OK, so there are much more things to consider. I mean, I go to the States probably once every 2 years. And I must admit, it's not changed my perception as much as the rate of the dollar to the pound has.
No, there's, the US is an incredibly popular holiday destination for British travellers and will remain so. But, we've definitely seen a drop-off in the number of people that have gone to the US since Trump was elected, which is pretty much nigh on a year ago. And equally, those forward numbers of people saying whether they will or will not go because he's in the White House. But you're absolutely correct. At the same time, one of the most major issues as to where we travel anywhere is the exchange rate. But the problem we've had from a UK perspective post-Brexit is that it's pretty much more expensive wherever we go now.
There was a list published in one of the papers last week, actually, about the places that have not been affected by the fall in the rate of the pound, that the pound is actually better. And nearly all of those places were well away, like Japan and Hong Kong and places like that. So sometimes the price of your flight, etc., will more than make up for the drop in the pound rate.
That's true. South Africa's another one. So, I mean, there's anyone who's looking for a better Christmas or New Year or a sun, South Africa will be perfect. And, yep, South Africa has seen, the exchange rate is so much better. So that's a country that's worth going to. But from a European and a short haul summer perspective, as we all like that 2 weeks in the sun, during our perceived summer, it's certainly a lot more expensive than it has been before. And I think we'll probably find that the impact of Brexit will be that it will just get even more expensive.
OK, now terrorism, obviously, that's something that bears on your mind. And this country itself has been affected by terrorism a great deal, and so have many other countries. Is it the scale of terrorism that decides whether you're going to go there or not, Paul?
I think so. I think that's the case. I think quite perversely, what we've seen from the attacks that we had in Manchester and in London is that it showed that people are sort of hardened to terrorism now, in the sense that if it's on your own doorstep, then it can be anywhere. So there's really sort of almost no fear as to travel as such. And then equally, from the inbound perspective, there was no impact at all on the number of people coming into London and coming into the UK following the attacks in Manchester and in London. A lot of that might have been due to the fact that, again, we're talking about the exchange rate post-Brexit, coming from pretty much anywhere in the world. The UK is a really cost-effective holiday destination now.
So which countries have been affected the most, Paul?
From a terrorism perspective, well, I guess to start off with Tunisia, following what happened there, the flight, in 2015, the flights were completely stopped from the UK. Thankfully, they're open now, and up at World Travel Market, which takes place in a couple of weeks, Tunisia will have a real big delegation as they look to kind of increase the tourist numbers again coming into that destination.
And presumably what a lot of these countries will do will probably drop how much it costs to go there and how much it costs to stay there in an attempt to drag back the people.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, tourism and the travel industry is so competitive now. So down at World Travel Market on the 6th to the 8th of November, there will be 182 countries there, and £3 billion worth of business will take place. And that business is effectively the packaging of the holidays that you and I and your listeners will all look to go on next year. So the level of competition is massive, and one of the key ways for, as you say, any destination that has had its issues over the last few years is definitely to make sure they're price competitive.
Now, weather-wise, I mean, that's what we always look for. And we know we've had storms and hurricanes, etc. But usually the weather we can expect when we go abroad hasn't changed all that much, has it?
No, I mean we definitely look for sun. So we've seen from our surveys of the industry and of both consumers that it's those typical sunny hotspots that are going to do well next year. So Italy, Spain, Greece, they're all poised to do really well. And as I mentioned, Tunisia as well. Tunisia looks like that's going to sign quite a few deals, and holidaymakers seem like they're prepared to go back to the country as well. So yeah, anywhere where you can pretty much guarantee sun will do well.
And because of the extra security at airports and that lingering fear of flying that's in some people, is there a marked increase now in the number of people who are going on cruises?
Cruising is definitely growing. I wouldn't say it's necessarily is growing because of tourism. I think potentially, because of terrorism. I think potentially the airport experience might have something to do with it. So, but then at the same time, at the cruise terminals is pretty much the same. They need to be equally as strict. I think it's more just a different style of holiday. Cruising traditionally was for older people, but now the cruise industry is really working on family cruises. It's even working on kind of single people cruises and couple cruises. They're very much broadening it out so it suits everybody, and then at the same time you're able to visit 3 or 4, 5 destinations in one go effectively. So, you get to experience a little bit more in a way. So, yeah, cruising is, without growing, it's probably the fastest growing segment of the whole travel industry.
Even with cruising, though, people do plan the cruises because there's certain areas that it's the hurricane season, isn't it? So you try and stay clear of that.
Oh yeah, without question, and the travel industry itself will do that. It will plan itineraries around the weather season. It will plan itineraries around terrorism or political incidents which might impact the number of people that will go on them.
Okay, where can we go for more information, a little bit more advice about what we should consider when we're going away?
Go to the website wtmlondon.com.
Paul, nice talking to you, mate. Where are you going this year?
Well, I was in Dubrovnik last year. I'm not sure. I haven't really thought about this year, but Croatia's probably my favourite country, so maybe back to Croatia.
Does the language barrier not bother you, Paul?
No, not at all. I think they're a very hospitable country over in Croatia, and they're really, it's a great tourism place. Again, talking about guaranteed sun, it's lovely, and there's so many islands that you can go and visit and island hop. So that's pretty much you could go there every year, and every holiday would be different. Just go and island hop across the different islands.
Right, I'm getting my brochure out now. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you. All the best. Cheers.
Bye-bye.